Hello, fellow beautiful soul. This is Scarlet Canal. Before you begin this recording, I would like to let you know that it is not perfect. In a few spots, you will hear some noise, a little bit of distraction. It is mild, but this is not a perfect recording in any way, shape, or form. I woke up this morning and had this inner nudging that would not leave me alone to record this, and so I am following this inner guidance despite of the recording's imperfections. This recording is derived from my notes and a lecture given in Maui on February 22nd, 2024. From the guides. And there are places where I have changed it and added to it in my own way. I have been a student of truth and the guides for many, many years, as well as other teachings. And I am an avid reader. I take notes, I study, I listen to a lot of audio. And all of the recordings that I do are derived from my own spiritual walk and path over many, many years. And I record what I have learned, what I am learning, and inspiration that comes through me, and also everything that I have learned from many different teachers throughout my life. I actually listen to my own recordings over and over again while I am walking or exercising, doing chores, getting ready in the morning, so that I am constantly immersed in deep truth and those things that I desire to learn and to make a part of me. And as the guides often say, we become the teaching, and I have found that to be true. And with that being said, I am sending you all of the love, light, peace, and truth that I know, and I do hope that you enjoy this recording in spite of a few imperfections. I know who we are in truth. I know what we are in truth. I know how we serve in truth. We are free. We are free. I see us in our beauty and in our right to be, in all that we have known and will know. What is true is always true. We are here now as our divine selves in this present moment. We are here now as our divine selves in this present moment. Let us be here now, not halfway here, not leaning into tomorrow, but fully rooted and grounded in the now. Let us give our ourselves permission to move beyond a bias, the clock, and the calendar, how things should be based on our estimation of past experience. The desire to codify time, to practice time, is useful. But it also disallows experiences that exist simultaneously with our idea of the clock or the calendar. The bias that we hold has to do with sequence. What comes when? What the order of experiences are. In fact, the only order of experience is our understanding of the idea of cause and effect. What is transpiring is a multitude of potentials that exist simultaneously beyond the linearity that we have become accustomed to. The focus that we hold on an idea of a timeline or an event followed by an event in a kind of sequence is useful. But there are aspects of us that exist beyond these times. These ideas of time itself are the aspects of us that are being summoned now, called forth to be expressed as the who and the what that we truly are. The form that we have taken has an expiration date. The energy which is the form does not hold anything because it never expires. The divine self, the monad within us, is eternal. It exists beyond the idea of time and space, but can be known through it. We understand ourselves in the body and an interaction with others with a shared idea of what time is. We collude with one another in a shared experiential realm. Our idea of what is through a shared template is the common field. The common field is reality as we have known it and consequently anticipated. The small self that exists in the common field knows itself entirely through history or what has come before. An idea of what came before. Because all that we are really knowing are ideas. When we understand ourselves as a precursor for what can come in an entirely new creation, we will stop relying on the old. The idea of who we are, locked into an idea of time and space, colludes with the idea of history to replicate what was. When we stop the reliance on what we think should be based on prior information, we have new possibilities. We exist in a form, and this form has property. A plant is expected to wilt eventually. The grass is expected to fade in the winter months. But the idea of who and what we are beyond the idea of self, moored in history, is what is being attended to here. The monad, the divine self, the eternal self, as us, knows itself throughout time and indeed beyond time, because it always is. God is, God was, God is to come. The manifestation of the monad in our experience is the idealized self, or the idea of self that is not bound by past events, does not suffer through them, and does not anticipate more of the same. The true self exists in innocence. It is less about not knowing what was than not being affected by what was. The monad, the divine self, existing in the ever-present now, is never afraid, has not been indoctrinated through fear, and consequently claims a world anew without the precious idea of what once was, informing what actually is, and consequently what is not sullied, not tainted by the idea of fear. We have a new vision that can be claimed and comprehended by us as we take our place within it. The idea of time and how it has been claimed as intractable must be understood as a creation of humanity. Time as a structure may be understood as concrete or as malleable to thought. Anything that we place before God, be it the calendar or the clock, is what we worship. And we indeed worship time. The measurement of worth by the true self is always present in a perfect way. We were born. We have a right to be. The manifestation of the divine as us is always present, can always be summoned, and once summoned, realized. The mind that we operate with is still clouded by our ideas of what should be. We are going beyond that to a realm of agreement where what exists can be existing in the eternal now without our premise of what is allowed, with the bias of the old informing its stature. Some things take time. We wish to fill the bath with water. It may take a few moments to feel. We wish to cook our dinner so that it is safe to eat. It may take some time on the flame, but the idea of time as structure is actually inherited by us. There was once a time when humanity existed without the bias that time holds now, and the idea of a miracle which actually transcends time was far more available than in the dense field that we now operate in. We decide what can be primarily through natural law. And in doing this, we actually discard the possibilities that exist simultaneously and even beyond natural law. What comes up must come down is natural law. But there are other ways of experiencing relativity. There are other ways of experiencing time. There are other ways of experiencing the now than without putting it between two things. idea of a past or of a future. The eternal now exists always. The minds that we have and the capacity of the mind that we have knows itself in eternity, but in some ways claims parameters to be operable. We only see a certain number of colors, although the spectrum is far more vast than we can imagine. We only see things that exist at certain levels of vibration, although we are sharing a field, and in fact, many fields with beings that exist in multiple levels of tone. And tone is vibration. We are existing in a field. It is as a radio station that is on a spectrum with many stations. The station that we play or know of as our reality holds a bias in its simplicity. There are stations that are far more simple than ours, where the ideas of two things existing at once would seem impossible. And there are levels of vibration where all things seem to exist simultaneously. All time exists in a spectrum that can be moved between. We rely on time. We have lives to live and things to attend to. So time is utilized well. But we actually exist beyond the idea of time. We are not bound, and we can be anywhere and everywhere as we are required to be. We can know ourselves at any time because we exist at all times simultaneously. There is an aspect of us which is beyond the body, beyond this experience that exists at all times. It is not bound or tethered even to the body that we hold. But our ability to transcend the different levels of vibration has been severely limited by the agreements that we have made when we entered the body that we hold. What we understand as a soul limits its tone to a variable that can be known while maintaining a body. When the body is no longer required, our understanding of soul always existed, knows itself beyond form, and is released from the idea that it has known itself in while incarnated. The monad, the divine spark, exists with the soul. But it is not the soul itself. It broadens the soul, claims the soul in its union with Source. But Source is beyond the idea of union. There is Source without a soul, but we cannot have a soul without Source. We have lungs and we breathe. We may have a body without lungs, but the body would not be breathing. The monad, the divine self, that which illumines the body and the soul, the Christ within us, is always in union with Source, and consequently always existing beyond time. This limited structure that we know ourselves through, the bodies that we hold, the calendar that we agree to, our idea of mortality within a spectrum of time and space, is useful for the incarnate experience that we have come to learn through. But we are not only limiting our experience to what exists simultaneously, we are claiming ourself in a field of separation that is no longer necessary. The monad, the divine self that expresses within the soul, that knows itself in eternity, does not hold fear or even the idea of karma that may be amassed by an individual soul through its process of agreement to form. The lessons that a soul claims may be understood by us in a kind of linearity, but that is a bias that we hold, because indeed a soul can be existing in multiple incarnations simultaneously, and each incarnation informing outcome in a spectrum. To come into form is an agreement to abide in time and space. The structure is useful for us. But who we are beyond these bodies and this experience is not bound by time and space as we understand it. Mind, as we understand mind, exists in simultaneity with all ideas of time and beyond any idea of time. Mind is actually free and is always free. But we have tethered it to form and information, the data of a collective field. The mind exists beyond the collective field. Brain and mind are two different things. Mind is consciousness, which is always free and always amassing experience and reflecting itself in its experience and expression. When we are limited by the data of what can be, we begin to limit the idea of mind, which must include our imagination, or what exists beyond the idea of what has already been claimed. When we move beyond the limitation that prior experience holds, or language can endow us with, we come to a place where we may become receptive with those things that exist, or to those things that exist in simultaneity with the physical plane, that do not resemble the things that we have known. The first thing that most of us do when we have an encounter with something other is to become frightened by it, or to try to commodify it by giving it a name and a thing that can service us. What if we could imagine in this moment that there were a million beings in our room, or wherever we hear these words? Because indeed, there are. They are not all existing at the level of tone that we may know our body in. But that is only one bandwidth, one radio station. When we understand that all these things exist and can be comprehended by us in different ways, at different levels of tone, we begin to dismantle the idea of the very things that would limit our experience. We are going beyond the limiting ideas that time has held for us, so that we may align to what exists concurrently in a compressed state that may be understood by us in a higher realm. The energy that we hold is far too vast for us to understand, let alone contain in the body. We are being lifted at the level that our bodies can hold. I am word through my body. I know what I am in truth. The physical form that we hold, which has an understanding of itself in a kind of mortality, is operating in a dense field and is confirming the dense field. When we claim the energy of the word or the creator in action through the physical form. We are giving the form itself permission to be amplified or lifted. Let us be attuned to the vibration that is the upper room, in alignment at a higher level, so that we may hold more at a different level or texture or vibration than we could hold prior. Let us be claimed as we know ourselves in a higher field, prior to the density that was accrued by humanity through its linear experience embodying the idea of separation. This is a teaching of union, not union with the realms above, but in concourse, in consort, in alignment with what is always true. What is always true is the ever presence of Source that must exist at every level of vibration, which simply means every radio station that could ever play. Source must be present, often in a very diminished sense, where the darkness has been amplified. But even the darkness holds light, although it may seek to refute it. Let us be claimed here, now, at a level of tone, where we may begin to explore who and what we are, beyond the linearity or the idea of sequence, to know who and what we are beyond the limited forms that we have taken. When we become a conduit for the divine, an expression of the divine, we are in service to all and not in a deified way. Not because we are special, but because we simply are. And because we know who we are, we must know who all others are as well. The common field can be seen as an octave of high and low notes, existing in one octave or spectrum of tone. When we go beyond the common field, we go to what we are calling the upper room, which is very simply the octave of tone and vibration that exists simultaneously to and above the common field. It is not some other place that we go, but another way of being experienced. All of these octaves operate in simultaneity. They are less stacked than operating in a chord at levels that can be attained through the permission of the soul and granted by the aspect of us that already exists in them. The upper room is the highest one can claim while maintaining form. We may call it Christ consciousness, but it is simply a level of tone or music where fear does not express, and even the idea of mortality can be released. Wow, we have a body. It indeed has an expiration day. But our belief that we stop existing when the body is ending, and we do not transcend the idea of form that we have known, is what we are attending to. Because in most ways, it is the fear of death that claims us all in the common field. The idea that there is no place to go, no other way to learn through but the body that we have known ourselves through. When we are no longer moored to the idea of what can occur, we become party to miracles, or present for our interaction with a level of tone where we are not limiting the outcome through a prescribed idea of what is possible. Tone is beyond language that we may understand. The attunements offered here through tone is voiced in language that we may repeat. The language itself is encoded with vibrations that support us each in our interaction with the meaning of them, the meaning of each attunement. Let us say these words together. The word is the energy of the Creator in action. When we invoke the word, we are invoking this action as and through us. I am word through my body. Word, I am word. I am word through my vibration. Word, I am word. I am word through my knowing of myself as word. Word, I am word. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. I am free. I am free. I am free. The aspect of the self that claims, I know who I am, is the aspect that knows, not that is seeking, but the aspect of us that is already present and abides in the upper room. I know who I am in truth, identity, what I am in truth, manifest form, and how I serve in truth, expression. The monad expressing as us. The claim, I am free, I am free, I am free, is the release of the structure of the common field, with its bias of how things must or should be. The claim, I am free, I am free, I am free, is what allows entry into the upper room. Let us say this together. I am in the upper room. I have come. I have come. I have come. The aspect of us that claims this. Let us call it the monad, or the divine self, that expresses in the upper room, is announcing its presence as a catalyst for its own expression as and through. The God within announcing, I have come, I have come, I have come, as it begins its process of reclamation of those things that have dirtied the prison. The diamond, or the window of our view. The claim, I have come, is permitting the action of the monad as and through us to reclaim each aspect of us in its purview or its true light. It is not outside of us. It is the God within that is of us and has always been. We are claiming who we truly are and indeed have always been. I know who we are in truth. I know what we are in truth. We are free. We are free. We are